Guys, in this video, we have some very important news to give to you guys about two-star receivers, Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints and Davante Adams of the Green Bay Packers. So make sure you like and subscribe. We're on the road to 400. Turn on all notifications. But let's start off with Green Bay Packers, Davante Adams. Contract extension talks are unlikely to resume. They have broken off and they are no longer talking about it. Davante Adams unlikely to sign an extension with the Green Bay Packers at this time, sources say. So this is obviously very bad for the Packers. The Green Bay Packers and star wide receiver Davante Adams are not expected to reach agreement on a contract extension at this time, sources told ESPN. Adams, 28 years old, is scheduled to be paid a base salary of $12.25 million and can make an additional $500,000 in roster bonuses in 2021, the final season of a 4-year, $58 million extension he signed in 2017. He has been selected to the past 4 Pro Bowls and will earn an additional $250,000 if he is selected again this season. With an average salary of $14.5 million per year, he has slipped to number 18 on the receiver pay scale when he is playing like a top 5, top 3, arguably best receiver in the NFL type of level. Adams' contract talks have been impacted by the uncertainty of quarterback Aaron Rodgers' situation. We have a video coming out about that, so make sure you're tuned in so you don't miss any important videos. Rodgers turned down a 2-year extension that would have tied the reigning MVP to the Packers for 5 more seasons and made him the highest paid player in football, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter. The extension would have provided the Packers salary cap relief and possibly helped them in their attempt to extend Adams' contract. In May, Adams told Fox Sports Radio that Rodgers' situation could potentially impact his future with the Packers. That's the only guy that I've ever had other than the 2017 season when he got hurt. That's the only guy that I've played with. He said, "We built up a special connection over the years that has put us both in really good positions in our career. Not that he needed me to come along for it, but because he was already in that spot. But we've established a lot together. So it would change a lot. Doesn't mean potentially I'd be gone, but I definitely have to do some extra thinking if my guy wasn't here." Sources told Schefter in April that Rodgers does not want to return to the team because of issues he has with management. Despite his stance, the Packers have remained adamant that they would not trade the 3-time MVP. Adams led the season last year with 18 touchdown receptions, a career high, and also set a career best with 115 receptions as he surpassed 1,000 yards receiving, 1,374 for the second time in his career. The Packers veteran players are scheduled to report to training camp on Tuesday. The team's rookies reported on Friday. So this doesn't necessarily mean Davante Adams will be gone from the Green Bay Packers, but this does mean an extension is becoming more unlikely as the Packers have next offseason to try to extend Adams before he hits free agency. And once he hits free agency, there's a very high chance that Davante Adams would be gone from the Green Bay Packers because there's so many other teams that would be just throwing money at him. And if Aaron Rodgers does not stay, that means Adams would be more likely to leave. He says that wouldn't necessarily mean he is gone, but he'd have to rethink things a little bit. So this is obviously not good. The Packers were in contract extension talks with Adams, and now they have broken off, which means they're not talking about it anymore. So that means the Packers would have to re-engage in talks with Adams, and their front office has so much to figure out with their star players. And this means for Packers fans that you may be confident Rodgers and Adams are staying, but there is no guarantees past this season. Of course, both players are still under contract, and Adams is still likely to play the whole season, but this means that he is unlikely to return next season if the Packers can't figure out a way to sign him because their salary cap situation is not the best in the league. It's by far not even good. They have a lot of guys to re-sign, and they don't have much money to throw around at players and give them a lot of money. So this means they would have to re-sign Adams and give him so much money because they have all their receivers they have to re-sign, and Adams is by far the best, and they would have to pay him money and sign him through a lot of years down the road to just extend the money and push it back to not hurt the salary cap more than it needs to. So this is obviously very bad news, and you could see a Green Bay Packers team without a star quarterback, arguably the best quarterback in the league in Rodgers, and arguably the best receiver in the league in Adams. Both of them could be gone, and you could see the Packers needing to find replacements, which is very hard to do. A lot to ask of the younger players like Jordan Love and Amari Rodgers to step in their place. So next offseason is crucial and monumental, and last season seemed like one of the last times the Green Bay Packers could really push for a Super Bowl. You also have Jair Alexander, who's needing a contract soon, and he's probably a priority over Adams because Adams is 28. He is in his prime, but in years gone by, in years coming now, he might be more injury prone. He's getting older, so there's a lot of important decisions this Packers front office needs to make. So it's not time to freak out yet, but the time to freak out for Packers fans is coming up very soon. The next offseason, if they were to let him hit free agency, it would be very likely they were to get outbid by a team that has just a ton of cap space, and Adams would potentially leave Green Bay and go to another team, which would be absolutely devastating. So there's also an opt-out contract for Aaron Rodgers coming soon. So all of this is coming at a really bad time for the Packers, and they have a lot of questions and issues in their organization with two of their star players. That is definitely impacting the team. So it's going to be a bumpy ride, and there's still a lot of questions to be answered. So stick around to hear more news from that. So now we move on to Michael Thomas, the Saints wide receiver, who is going to be missing time after he underwent ankle surgery. So he's going to miss the start of the season and potentially some more time. So New Orleans Saints All-Pro receiver Michael Thomas is expected to miss the beginning of the 2021 season after he had an ankle surgery in June, which was a month ago. So that's not good for the Saints, according to a report from the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. Thomas sustained a high ankle sprain in 2020 season opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and played intermittently for the rest of the season. He finished the year with 438 yards receiving and on 50 catches. He recommended his time of recovery is 4 months, which would line up to miss at least 4 games, which is like the first month of the season, which is all September. The Athletic reported that Thomas could miss 5 games while he recovers, so that's not good for the Saints. Thomas was not made available to the media during the 3 days of minicamp in June, but Sean Payton said on June 10th that he was present and participating. We're still monitoring it and paying attention to it and scanning it and all those things, Payton said in June about Thomas's ankle injury. He's getting treatment and doing the things that are necessary. So far, so good. The news regarding surgery isn't new. It was reported back in January that Thomas would likely need surgeries to fix his torn deltoid and the injured ligaments in his ankle. The Saints have a Week 6 idle week, so that team could place him on the regular season's physically unable to perform list if they do believe he'll miss the first 5 games of the season. Players who begin the regular season on PUP must sit out the first 6 weeks of the season, and then they have the 21-day window where the player can practice before being brought on the 53-man roster. The receiver room without Thomas features Traquan Smith, through Deontay Harris, Marquez Callaway, Jake Lampman, Little Jordan Humphrey, Jalen McCleskey, rookie 7th round pick, Kawan Baker, and undrafted rookie Aesop Winston. So when Thomas was out last season, the Saints had veteran receiver Emmanuel Sanders available to lead the way, pacing the receivers with 626 yards, receiving on 61 catches. However, the Saints released Sanders on the offseason due to salary cap constraints. He's on the Buffalo Bills roster now. The top returning receiver in terms of receiving output is 4th-year receiver Smith, who had 448 yards receiving on 50 catches in 14 games. The 2018 third-round pick out of UCF is in a contract year. The player who led the team receiving yards last season was running back Alvin Kamara, who finished the year with 756 yards receiving on 83 catches. The third most productive pass catcher in 2020 is also no longer with the team, as tight end Jared Cook hit free agency and was not re-signed. Cook had 504 yards receiving on 37 catches last year and now plays on the Los Angeles Chargers. Before Thomas got hurt last season, the Ohio State product had sky-high expectations. He wanted to be on his best efforts from 2019, where he was the NFL's Offensive Player of the Year and broke the league's single-season record receptions record with 149 catches. The news regarding Thomas is the latest and disappointing news regarding Saints starters. Last week, starting defensive tackle David Ontemata was suspended for the first 6 games, 7 weeks of the 2021 season after he tested positive for a banned substance. Then there's quarterback Marshawn Lattimore's lingering court case in Cleveland. He was charged with a 4th-degree felony after police found a handgun in his possession during a traffic stop in March and was allegedly stolen. There have been no updates in this case. Taking Thomas, Ontemata, and Lattimore into consideration, the Saints could very well suit up just 11 of their starters from the 2020 season opener. Quarterback Drew Brees has retired. Tight end Josh Hill was released and has since retired. Guard Nick Easton was released. Defensive end Trey Hendrickson signed with Cincinnati. Defensive tackle Malcolm Brown was traded to Jacksonville. Linebacker Alex Anzalone signed with Detroit. And cornerback Janoris Jenkins was released and now plays for the Tennessee Titans. So that is all the news for the Saints. Saints fans, you're in for a rough one. I predicted you guys to have a bad season. And don't laugh at me. Your roster, you have one of the best offensive lines in football still. That offensive line is great. I love it. Sean Payton is a great head coach, so at least you have some consistency there. But Jameis Winston, Sean Payton's going to have to really fix him. And with Michael Thomas missing this much time, 4 weeks at least, like the first month, maybe even more time after that, that means you're going to have to win some games. And starting off the season strong is important, and they're in a tough division, and they have a tough schedule. And Michael Thomas is really their only consistent, reliable receiver. They just lost Emmanuel Sanders, and Traquan Smith is probably going to be their number 1 starter, which he was solid. He had 448 yards on 50 catches in 14 games, but that was him as a 2nd or 3rd option. Now he's going to have to be the 1st option and facing some of the best corners in football, number 1 corners, and Deontay Harris, who's a speedy return guy. And then you have a lot of depth guys that are going to have to step up in 3rd and 4th roles. So this Saints team, also with Lattimore in his court case, he's their number 1 corner, and outside of him, there's not really any other good corners. So that is obviously troubling. And then defensive tackle David Ontemata suspended for the first 6 games, so that puts a lot of more pressure on Cameron Jordan on that defensive front. So really, the Saints roster, who is one of the best, most talented rosters, now has a depleted receiving core, depleted tight end. They're going to have to rely on Alvin Kamara a ton, and there's a lot of tape to watch on Alvin Kamara last year since they were all relying on Alvin Kamara. Defensively, they lost a lot of pass rush. They're going to have to rely on the rookie pass rusher they drafted in the 1st round, who's a good power rusher. And then secondary took a hit, losing Janoris Jenkins, and they lost Alex Anzalone. They still have Demario Davis linebacker core, but their depth is looking bad. Their defense is looking a little worse, and their offense is going to take a hit. So it's going to rely on a lot of the coaching staff, a lot of the stars that are on there to really try to push for a playoff spot. But I just don't think the Saints are a playoff team. Now, if Thomas was to return to his Offensive Player of the Year, if Peyton was able to fix Jameis Winston, and if Lattimore was able to stay on the field and figure out this court case, and Onyemata was able to stay there, and all this was able to gel together, then yes, they could make the playoffs. But right now, I'm doubting it. So we'll see for the New Orleans Saints. They're a team to watch, but I think they're going to be one of the teams that's hit most with regression. There's just so much. They had to cut down on a lot of salary cap space. They were like $100 million over the cap. They had to just cut guys and restructure and take pay cuts and all of that. And it's just looking bad. So that is going to be it for this video on two-star receivers Michael Thomas and Davante Adams. Huge news stories for the Packers and the Saints, who are hearing negative news right now. It's not good, but we'll see what happens with Adams' contract after this year in the offseason. We'll see how Michael Thomas comes back from his injury and how the Saints perform, but I don't know if it's going to be much good for the Saints. So thank you all so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Road to 400. I'll also be dropping a DeAndre Hopkins video in the coming days. I have to get this one out, the Aaron Rodgers one out, and the DeAndre Hopkins one out, all in one day. So I'm trying my hardest, but turn on notifications if you haven't already. See you in the next one. Peace out. Oh my gosh.